We are here with Dawn De Kruyf. She is the founder of Lilly's Legacy, and she's going to tell us her story.
Yeah, my story. Well, my story as far as Lily's legacy goes. So I was an only child. My parents were both raised to love people. We had people on the couch. Even my grandmother took in kids off the street. And so I always grew up serving other people and loved it. Even dressed my dad up as Santa Claus and took him to the projects and gave out candy canes and all that.
Fun.
And my dad was a family counselor for Union Rescue Mission in the 70s when his aerospace career died down. And when he went to the Union Rescue Mission, they made a position for him called family counselor because they had people coming in, but they only took in men. Mm-hmm. And so there was one woman's mission, and there was nothing for a woman with her child with her. And my dad saw a great need, so he ended up opening a shelter and had his own nonprofit, and it was called Faith Home. And so I grew up there as a teenager, living with people off the street, prostitutes, you name it. And it was just such a blessing. Like, people were really appreciative. I mean, yeah, some people weren't and left and stole from us, but my parents did it with such grace, and they just, they were a great example for me. So as I grew up, got married and had kids, and I'm a hairdresser. I've done hair 42 years. Every Christmas, I thought, well, I'm going to do a project with my clients. And so one year we took on a family from my daughter's preschool that, didn't have a tree, didn't have a turkey, didn't have gifts. Every year was something different, and I was always looking for some fun project. And my clients were like so great about just giving me money or whatever I wanted to do. They were just on board, So this one particular year was 2015, so 6 years this November. I saw a picture on Facebook, and it was a purse, and it had deodorant, tampons, and toothbrush, and I thought, that's a great little project for my customers, because it said something about, you might have a purse in the back of your closet, and you think you're going to use it, you're not, and you should just stuff it with some essential things, even maybe some socks or whatever, and when you see a homeless woman, just keep it in your car and give it out. So I thought, okay, that's great. I'll just tell my clients to all bring me their old purses, and I work right here by the Dollar Tree, so I'll just fill them up, and that'll be it. And I'll just give them to this guy at my church, Dandy, his name is, and he does all of Hawaiian Gardens. And I thought, that's great. He goes out every night, he'll have the bags, and that'll be our sweet little project. This is good for my clients right here. So that's how it first started. Okay. Should I go to part 2?
Well, maybe we can go to part 2. We're at 3 minutes. Okay. We are back with Dawn De Kruyf, and we are at part 2 of her story of Lily's legacy.
So I'm gonna really try to, I don't want to talk too fast, but it's just a lot of exciting things happen. Now, if you make me cry, that's gonna, okay. So anyway, I do my nice little project. I get 14 purses from clients, and then some clients even brought deodorant and different items. And I threw it all on the kitchen table and got my grandkids around, and we were so disorganized. We're like, oh, give me a brush. Oh, I didn't get that. I didn't get this. And we filled the 14 bags, and I took them to church and gave them to Dandy, and I took his picture, and I said, that is that. That was great. But God had something else in mind, as he usually does if you listen. And so the next week, clients said, oh, I brought you purses. Oh, did you need more stuff? Oh, what else can I bring? And I realized there was still a need, obviously, and there was still people wanting to give. And sometimes, I would drive past a homeless person and cry and think about, I'm in my warm bed at night, and they're just out there, especially women. That's just, and older people, that kills me. People in their 60s, 70s, on the hard ground. And I thought, everybody wants to help, but if you don't really know how, you don't want to give them money. There could be issues with drugs and alcohol or mental illness, and you just don't know how to help. You don't feel like you're an expert. But I got tired of crying about it, and I just decided this is a good vehicle for, I'm only giving them the necessities, but it's a drop in the bucket that, if I keep doing it, it's something, And so all these items, these 20 items in a bag, are just essential. Band-Aids, Q-tips, sometimes you just kill for a Q-tip. So I just thought, well, I'm just going to keep doing it. And I talked to the guy I was dating at the time, and I said, do you think I could do a nonprofit like my dad did? And he said, of course, you know, and then when you're older and you can't do hair and you're, you know, you can run this, you know, this can be your little retirement job.
Right.
And I thought, you know, I'd love to eventually even have a shelter and have beds and have social workers to help them and, you know, take them to the doctor or whatever. But you got to start somewhere, you know. And my daughter had done it even in high school, where she did a Ziploc with socks and a bottle of water. And she would always say to me, Mom, they're going to be thirsty tomorrow. The bottle of water's going to be gone. But you can't do that. You have to keep going. And, you know, and Mother Teresa said, if you can't help the world, help the person next to you.
Right.
And looking at Mother Teresa quotes, just, you know, and I'm not even Catholic, but whoa, that was just amazing. And so I decided to try to do it and keep going and keep people volunteering and keep people excited, because my clients were excited, you know.
Right.
And so I went to my tax man and I asked him, you know, to help me file the paperwork. And he told me it took 3 to 12 months to get your nonprofit status. So I said, well, this is going to be a long haul. It's going to take a lot of my own money, but I'm going to try it. So.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap up part 2 and move on to part 3. Okay. We are back with Dawn with Lily's Legacy, part 3.
Okay. So, like I said, it takes, you know, it could take a year to get my nonprofit status. So the first thing that happened was the name I picked, another lady had a similar name, and Secretary of State told me that if I asked her, maybe, you know, I could have a similar name to her but have LA at the end of it or whatever. And she said no, because, you know, we would always be tied together, good or bad. So I really felt, you know, I'm a woman of faith, and I accepted that I didn't get the name I wanted, which I won't say what it is. But then I started thinking, well, maybe God wanted me to name it something else. And maybe because it had the word purse in it, maybe I was limiting myself. Maybe it was just a bag. And maybe someday it's not going to be just a bag. Maybe someday it's going to be meals. It's going to be blankets. It's going to be clothing. It's going to be a bed. I don't know. So I thought about my parents, and I wanted to honor them and what they taught me. So I named it Lily's Legacy. And my mom was the house mother at the shelter we had. My dad was the founder, and I just thought that's really cool. My dad got a lot of attention for all that, but maybe it's time for my mom. So I named it Lily's Legacy, and sent the paperwork in again, ready to wait another year. And 9 days later, I got a letter that I had my nonprofit status. Yeah. And I went into my tax man's office and I said, I got this letter. And he goes, no, you didn't. I said, yeah, I did. And I threw it on his desk, and he's like, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know. And it's just God, you know.
It's God.
So going forward, it's just a lot to do, and I'm just not a paperwork person. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't know how to do this, you know. But he sent people my way that are good at that and that do nonprofit in a huge way, that kind of mentored me, taught me things, helped me do bylaws and all kinds of stuff. And I'm pretty good at my Facebook and other social media, so I'm good at getting people excited, because it's just such a blessing. Like when you go out and you hand out stuff to people, they're so appreciative, they're so thankful. And rarely do they ever not want it, you know. So I got my board of directors together, and I started talking at church, and my church took me on. I go to Collision Church in Lakewood, and they said, well, once a month we're going to take an offering for you. This is a church of like 40 people. Like, wow. We're not full of money. We're just a little group of misfits. And this little group of misfits often raises, you know, $500 to $1,000 a month.
Wow.
And they've been my biggest support. And then after that, it's been private donors, you know, my clients writing me checks, people dropping off socks and blankets and all kinds of things. And, you know, my dreams of it getting bigger, I'm going to go to part 4, sorry. But my dreams of it getting bigger started to happen despite me getting in the way, basically. So I'll tell you that on part 4.
Okay. Yeah, let's go to part 4, because I really am excited to hear about everything that's going on. Okay, we are back with part 4 with Dawn.
Yeah, it's just so much cool stuff has happened. So what happened was things started really progressing. We started, Lynette and I, she was my friend that used to help me. We were driving one night and we had some toiletry bags, but it wasn't really my thing to give them out. I was supporting some other ministries. There was a guy that did a church at the park, and I would give him, 50 bags or jeans or t-shirts or whatever. And then when there would be my pastor Steve in Long Beach, my friend, he would have things, and I'd say, oh, well, I'll bring you 25 bags. So I was like behind the scenes, which, isn't really me anyway. I don't know why I tried that, but God had other plans,
Mm-hmm.
if you listen. So one day I was at my house, and I do hair, so I was off on a Monday, and it was weird because I always have stuff to do, but I had done all the laundry, done all the dishes. I really had nothing going on. And this client of mine called me, and she never calls. She always just texts. And I thought, why is she calling me? So I answered the phone. She says, Dawn, there's this lady out here on a laundra in Paramount, and she's by the Stater Brothers, and she's on a mattress. And she's a bigger lady, like maybe a plus size 2X or whatever. And she's wearing a sports bra and a pair of sweatpants, and her hair is all messed up. And I just thought maybe you could bring her some clothes, or maybe you'd have something even that would fit her. Bring her some, I don't know. She says, I brought her breakfast this morning, but whatever you could do. And I don't know if you're busy right now. And I thought, Lord, I told you I don't want to do this. I'll make the stuff, and then somebody else will give it away.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I got off the phone, I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. Oh, it's a one-time thing, right? So I get a little duffel bag, and I get some toilet paper and bottles of water and some snacks and the regular toiletry stuff. And then I went in my room and got some panties that I had just bought that I didn't really like anyway. They were new, they were clean. And a sundress that I didn't want anymore and stuff. And I packed it all in this duffel bag. And my daughter's boyfriend was there, and he said, well, I would go with you, but I have a headache right now. So I thought, I shouldn't go alone, because I don't know what what is her mental state? She's sleeping on a mattress against the chain link fence on a laundra. So I decided to wait, and then the guy I was seeing came over, and he says, yeah, sure, I'll go with you. Wasn't very supportive, though. So we go, and I can't find this girl. And I can't find her, and I'm driving around, and finally I make a U-turn, and there she is. So I pull up, and I park in the red and put my blinkers on, and right away he says, I can't believe you're parking here. You're going to get a ticket. And I was like, just give me a minute, And I had grabbed a blanket and a pillow, and I got out and grabbed the bag, and he got up to her first, kind of to assess the situation. And I said, and I right away just prayed. I said, Lord, I don't know what to say, And I got to her, and I said, I heard you need some help out here. She says, yes, ma'am. I said, well, I've got some clothes and some toiletries and some water and snacks. And I said, you need to kind of clean yourself up and get it together. And she says, yes, ma'am. And that was it. And I went and got back in the car, and my boyfriend said, I can't believe you did that, And I said, darn it. He says, what? I said, I didn't ask her name. He says, well, I'm sure you will tomorrow morning when you bring her breakfast in bed. And I was like, you know what? If you don't like it, it's going to happen more, because I was so blessed and so moved. And I knew it was God calling, saying, go out there, whatever words you're going to say to her. And I never saw her again. But I knew at that point that I could be the one to give it out. And use my head, be wise about it, never go alone. But I will go to part 5, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. It's an amazing story. I'm sure everybody's excited. We're back with Dawn. This is part 5.
Part 560 now.
Yeah, it's an amazing story though. So keep going.
So this was in 2015, near the end of 2015. And then we started, like I said, Lynette and I started going out. And then one day we went out, we gave out several toiletry bags. And she says, these people are hungry. Could we go to McDonald's? And I says, well, sure, of course. I mean, I have a bank account with Lily's Legacy. People have given me money, and the money's there to help people, And so I went through the McDonald's drive-thru, and I brought 10 cheeseburgers. Of course, those were gone very quickly. And I remember that particular day, one man, we had given him one of the bags and put the food in, and he basically, and we weren't really sure how to go about it. You don't want to assume people are down on their luck, but we just, Lynette had a way of just saying, anybody hungry? It's not like saying you're homeless or, you know, you need our help. It's just, are you hungry? Anybody's hungry. So this guy comes up to the window and she gave him the bag, and he literally opened the bag and looked and said, "Thank you, Lord." Closed the bag and walked away. He didn't thank us. He knew that help was coming from God. And several times in the last 4 years, it's going to be 5 years in November. Several times people have said, you know, we're just sitting here thinking, how are we going to eat tonight? And okay, Lord, figure this out. And then you just pull over and go, "Hi, are you hungry?"
Right.
And it's so nice to be, I mean, we've been called angels and everything else, but you know, we don't do it for the accolades. We do it because we're being obedient to God. And all the steps that have brought me to this part in my life, I know that God has been growing me to be this person. I still don't think I'm a great CEO, or I'm not, you know, definitely still not good at paperwork, but He's grown me to have the qualities that, you know, and my back is bad and all that, but you know what? I can still get people excited. And the homeless people, you know, I have a very good memory, so I know their names, their stories, you know. Out of every week when we feed about 50 people, sometimes hot food, lasagna or whatever, a lot of times just a sack lunch. These people, out of 50 people, I really only see about 10 faces that I know. And that's kind of crazy that there's a lot of new people. But there is about 2,000 homeless currently here in 2021 in Long Beach. And I live in Long Beach, and I used to say, well, I'll never do Long Beach because they got lots of resources and shelters and all that. And every time I go in Bellflower and Lakewood, there's no homeless people. And it's like God's pushing me, you know, oh, you said you'd never go to Long Beach, but guess what? This is where you go. So now I work here. I live here. My ministry's here. And my vision has grown to, you know, it started with a little shed, went to a big storage unit. I wanted a van or something. Now I have this big whole van, and now it's paid for. And so I see God's growing it as I'm faithful with what He's given me. And the whole reason is I see 5 vans going out. I see more people involved, more people like Denise that are passionate. And so it's just been great. And so if you want to donate or volunteer, definitely look us up on Facebook, Lily's Legacy Inc., INC, or our website is www.lilieslegacyinc.org, and you can donate there. You can actually click on a button where money will come out of your account every month, you know, like $5 every month. You don't even think about it. Or if you want to get involved, we're in the Long Beach area, so I'm so glad to share my story.